Welcome back to 3 and Out. I'm Ryan Orlovsky alongside Brian Carter, and we're going to jump right into the email portion of the show. If you want to see your questions, comments, or suggestions aired, send us an email at 3andoutsports@gmail.com, and we'll try to fit you in.
Yeah, we will. Let's go. First email. Go ahead, read.
This one's from DJ Rue. Did you hear about the Bama and LSU fans that engaged in a fatal altercation which involved a pistol and a shotgun? What do you think of this tragic news?
Well, you know, that stemmed from, obviously, the Alabama-LSU game that ended up in a win for Alabama over LSU. So, you know, I don't think sports is worth it. I don't think anything's worth, shooting someone over. But 2 people were shot and killed. A lot of people say there's talk about whether it was more than just about the game, but who knows? We don't know enough information on it yet. But, I have seen fans can get a little too worked up sometimes. So that's just one of those situations, I guess.
Definitely had to do with the fact that Saban was coming back. I'm sure a lot more intensity built into that game. But you got to let these matters be solved on the field.
Yeah. Trash talk, but don't shoot. Next email is from Alex. Says, I know Rudman has to be mad about Chase Utley being out for a while. What do you think about Chase Utley? He's
got to get that off-season hip surgery, which I've heard is a very complicated procedure that's being done. He's going to go to New York to the best hospital in the country for hip surgery to get it done. So we'll see what happens with that when he comes back. But if he's not able to play this year, that's a huge hole the Phillies got to fill. He hit 292 last year, 33 home runs, 104 RBIs.
Legitimate MVP candidate until late in the second half of the year. But, I mean, you can't argue the guy was a major impact, and he's one of the biggest reasons that the Phillies were being talked about possible, repeat. But now at this point, you have to think it's going to be 3 to 4 months he's going to be out before he can actually resume activities. But it's going to be even at the worst until mid-June before he can get back out there. So I think you just need to hope for the best, but expect the worst is the best case scenario. But opponents I've heard knew the last 4 months of the season that he had a hip injury, so that's why his numbers slowly decreased.
Makes sense.
Next email is going to be from Brent. It says, guys, was it right to fire the coaches for the Wizards and Thunder?
I agree with the management for both teams. I mean, the Wizards come in starting off at 1-10, and they have to save the season somehow. Coming into this season, they had Jordan had a 196 and 214 mark, and then with the Thunder, I gotta agree once again, just because anytime you lose 12 of 13 games to start a season, I mean something's got to be done. They're just saving their season, and they got to keep the fans in Oklahoma City interested.
Oh, but come on, man! I mean, they're a brand new team. It's a brand new start, and you know what? Most expansion teams don't end up having immediate success. I don't think anyone you put in there is going to be doing any better,
But what they're doing is they're proving right now that they're not going to settle for mediocrity. So.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel for Kevin Durant. I mean, here he is, a rookie of the year. Now he has to switch cities. Crappy team, crappy uniforms. But then you lose your coach. It's just a lose-lose situation. But again, with the Wizards, like you said, Eddie Jordan had the second worst winning percentage with any coach that's coached at least 20 games. So. He pretty much deserved it, but I have to disagree with you on the one about the Thunder.
This next email is from Borat, by the way. I love the movie.
I like it.
Do you agree with Barack Obama's idea of a BCS playoff system? I agree with him. It's not going to happen, but I agree with him.
Well, I think he needs to worry about other things, more like the economy. I mean, obviously, that's number one on his priority list. There's no way that a playoff system would work. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say, why not make it like high school, play 10 regular season games, then you do your playoffs? Well, it's college football. You want to see more games, but I mean, no playoff's going to work. Unlike other sports, what makes college football awesome is that every single game is a big deal. You don't have games that are like, we'll win the next one, no big deal. That's like baseball, 162-game schedule, but college football, you just have to realize that every game is that important. Who cares if you get upset? That's too bad. You lost your chance at it.
The thing that I hate most about this, though, is the fact that you got teams like Utah and Ball State, and granted they might not play in strong conferences, but they're still undefeated. So they should definitely have a shot to play in the national championship.
Yeah, well, it would be hard to figure out, though. But anyways, next email is from Andy. He says, man, I was so shocked to see Shaun Alexander get released by the Skins. What do you all think?
Honestly, I forgot about Shaun Alexander. I forgot that he even went to the Skins because he hasn't done anything. He played 4 games this year, got the ball 11 times, rushed for 24 yards. He hasn't really done anything since he went to the Super Bowl with Seattle back in 2005 when they lost to the Steelers.
Yeah.
He had 27 touchdowns that season. But even back in 2007, he only had 4 touchdowns. So he hasn't really been the impact player he used to be.
Well, he's had some foot injuries, some wrist injuries. So I mean, it's been a long road for him to come back from this, you know. But I agree with you. I mean, I kind of forgot about him, especially when you throw guys in there like LaDainian Tomlinson and Adrian Peterson. Those guys are the ones being talked about more often than not. So, you know, running backs go out of style just like clothes do, you know, but a lot quicker, I guess. But I mean, it's pretty foolish how after he was 31 years old now, so he's relatively young. But you know, the former MVP signed an 8-year contract worth $62 million with Seattle right after winning the MVP and going to the Super Bowl. So, you know, money well not spent. So.
This next email is from Sarah. Can it get any worse for UNC? Now Tyler Zeller goes down. How much does that change things?
Well, I mean, UNC, they're going to be fine because they have, you know, Tyler Hansbrough back, and that's a big deal. You know, Marcus Ginyard, he's one of their big players. He's, you know, not sure when he's going to be back, but they have enough talent around them to make things better. But you have to look at what could have been. Hansbrough next to Zeller would have been a huge 1-2 punch. You have 2 legitimate big men down low. I mean, obviously, it's going to hurt with him not being there, but UNC, I mean, they steamroll over every team, but, you know, you just worry about them when they get in the NCAA tournament. Pretty much.
Last night.
Yeah.
Last email from Greg. Brian and Ryan, what's your take on Steinbrenner handing over the reins?
Well, I mean, come on, this is long overdue. Orlovsky, what he says so. But, you know, George remains the chairman. So, I mean, again, he still has to stamp his thumbprint, his approval on every move. So, I mean, don't just assume that, you know, it's going to be just his son.
And they're keeping it in the family any way that you look at it. So the Yankees still have the money. They're still going to be making big deals. They're going after Sabathia right now. So this is going to change things very little, if at all, for the Yankees.
All right, now it's time for our Gutterball fact. Gutterball fact for this 3 and Out show is EA Sports considers auctioning off a Madden cover spot to players with proceeds going to United Way. What do you think about that?
I kind of like this idea. I mean, it's always a big deal every year to see who's going to be on the Madden cover. But it's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting. You know, maybe get like a player that nobody's really ever heard of, and then he's going to be on a video game cover. It's kind of different, but at least it's going to a good cause.
Right, and then, you know, you have a lot of players who actually do care if they're on the cover. Some may not even want to be on the cover because, you know, obviously the Madden curse, you know, a lot of people believe in that. So now you take away that chance for the curse. I mean, you know, there's going to be a lot of rookies, as you mentioned. Some of the younger players are going to definitely battle up for that. They're going to bid just like they would on an item on eBay. Let's do that.
Huge money maker.
Yeah, could be. Speaking of money maker, keep it where it's at.
Well, that's all we got to say about that, but stay tuned because 3 and Out is coming right back after this.